Alright, so I'm going to be showing you how to open up and disassemble this Lenovo IdeaPad 700-15 ISK. So we're going to be using a PH1 or JS1 screwdriver, and we're just going to remove all the screws on the bottom. You want to keep the screws in order because they can be different size, shape, and length. The way I do that is I put them flat side down like this on my desk in the pattern I remove them. So just go in rows like this. Alright, so I like to combine this row because it's so close together. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then you got 3 and then 4 down here. Alright, so let's go ahead and do that. Oops. Alright, this one is having issues where the screen isn't really coming up. They said it works with an external monitor, so for some reason the screen is the only thing that's not working. And if they're lucky, it's going to be a loose LCD connector. So let's go ahead and see if we can find that. Okay, I actually need to plug this into a monitor and make sure to shut it down properly because it might actually still be on. So once I get these screws out, I'm going to actually go ahead and do that and make sure that the computer has been shut down properly. Okay, so let's get all these screws. Alright, 2 more to go. If this video helps you out, make sure to like, subscribe, share my channel with others so that they can learn how to upgrade and repair their devices as well. If it helps you save a bunch of money, please consider contributing a little to the channel. Every little bit helps and allows me to continue making these videos for a living. So this screw was missing, but yeah. Anyways, let me go ahead and plug this into a monitor and make sure it's shut down. I'll be back. Alright, so it should be shutting down now. Let's go ahead and see. You want to make sure that the lights on the side here turn off. Alright, looks like they're good. So let's go ahead now and pop this open. So let's see, usually what I do is I'll get my fingernails into the edge here. Most of the time, depending on the model and where they put the clips, usually I'll go from this side and then I'll use my thumb to push on the palm rest here. Okay, as you can see, it's popping out. And you only want to push on the palm rest. You don't want to push on the touchpad here. Okay, so we're going to go over here, and here you can see the cover is coming up. We're going to slowly, carefully close the screen because most likely these screws were helping hold the hinges in place. Okay, now you can see we kind of have this popped up quite a bit, and you can actually see inside here. So we're going to go ahead and work our way over to the other side here. That's all popped up, so let's go ahead and work our way around the back. Okay, so we're going to go along the back as well, following where it's opened, and it looks like it popped open. Alright, just like that. Okay, so that opened up pretty easily. It's a little dusty in here, not too bad. Alright, you can see a little up there, and the fans are somewhat pretty dusty. So we're going to have to take the thing and clean it up. Alright, so I'm pretty sure I made another video of this same model about a year ago, but we'll see. Alright, so now we're going to disconnect the battery. Let's go ahead and do it where we actually take the battery out. So let's go ahead and take these screws out. Again, you want to keep all the screws in order because they are different size, shape, and length. So if you mix them up, you can damage your computer. So there's 1 screw there, and then there's 2 screws here. There is a M.2, seems to be a PCIe NVMe. Yep, PCIe NVMe SSD over here. And then there's some RAM under here and a 2.5-inch SATA hard drive here. You can upgrade this to a 2.5-inch SATA SSD. But yeah, right now there's a regular spinning drive. Okay, I'm not going to be taking everything out, but I kind of will just show a little bit. Alright, anyways, we're going to remove the battery. So the battery has this little part here that it has to slide over. Okay, oops, moved out too much. So here you can see the battery can actually slide. So you want to slide it over to the right, then you can go ahead and lift it up. Alright, next we're going to grab as close as we can to the battery connector. And then to get this out, we're basically going to wiggle it side to side, just like this. Okay, as we're kind of pulling it, you can see it slowly walking itself out. And there we go. If you get a replacement battery, you want to make sure the red wires are going to the 2.5-inch SATA hard drive connector, and the black wires are going towards this keyboard connector, keyboard backlight connector, and the trackpad connector here. Alright, battery model. Let's see if there's a battery model number here. Here you go. So the battery model number is right there, L14M3P24. Okay, so there we go. That's the battery model number. I'm going to set that aside for now. All right. There's also the BIOS or CMOS real-time clock battery. Sorry, I can't really move my move the computer over too far because I have a bunch of stuff over here. But this is the BIOS battery. To remove this, usually use a small flathead screwdriver and you push it down this way. And then once you push it down past this extended plastic on either side, you can actually lift it up. All right, but I'm not going to mess with that because I don't want to reset their BIOS. All right, here you can see the 2 screws that we took out. Oops. Guess we have to zoom out all the way. So you can see where the 2 screws that help hold the hinge in place would be with the bottom cover on. And that's why you want to be extra careful opening and closing the screen after removing those. So I like to kind of try and hold the hinges. So right here in the middle, and then you can go ahead. I'm going to use the screen to help pull this open. All right. And now what we're going to do, we're going to press and hold the power button for 15 seconds to drain any residual power. This will make it safer to work on and greatly reduce the risk of damaging the backlight circuit. Okay, so we're going to hold it for a few more seconds. All right, this is important. There's some people ask me if they have to do certain parts. You never have to do anything. If you want, you can rip the whole thing out without taking out the screws and just destroy the whole computer. But it only takes a few seconds and makes the risk a lot less, so it's always worth it. All right, anyways, let's go ahead now and pop the screen out. So to do that, you go in from the center part here and you pull it up while pushing the bezel in towards the center, okay? So these clips do seem a little tough, but they are popping out, okay? I'm gonna just go like that and continue popping these clips out. There we go. Next, we're gonna go over to the side here and we're gonna go ahead and pop that out. So I pulled this up and then pulled it over this way to help do the same thing where we're twisting the middle up and then pulling it in towards the center. Hopefully I'm not gonna knock over all the screws that I have over there. All right, we're gonna do the same thing on this side. Same thing, lift this up and then pull it up and towards the center. And then we're gonna go down the sides. There you go. Okay, next thing we're gonna do, we're gonna rotate the computer. You wanna make sure you're grounded and don't have anything that can cause static shock into the components. All right, anyways, let's go ahead and open this up a bit more. And we're gonna go ahead and pop this out. And somewhat similar, uh-oh, they put an adhesive here, so that's gonna be a little bit of a trouble. So let's go ahead and see, hopefully we can pull this out, okay? You're gonna wanna go slow here so that the adhesive can peel. It has 2 layers. We're gonna try and get behind the plastic part and the the bezel and the adhesive. You don't want it to separate from the screen itself if you can help it. So I'm trying to use this thin tool to help separate the adhesive here, okay? Most likely it's going to end up separating, but you want to try and avoid that. Okay, here you can see I cut through the adhesive a bit, and you can see the adhesive is coming up. This adhesive isn't necessary, so if the adhesive is not reusable, that's okay, don't worry about it. But we do need to separate the screen from this adhesive here. Or sorry, not the screen, the bezel. And this thin tool makes it a bit easier because then I can kind of use that to help cut through the adhesive, just going sideways like this. And apparently they skipped some spots. They only put some adhesive on parts of it. All right, we're gonna go over here and continue cutting the adhesive. Okay, and you want to be careful not to put too much pressure into the screen. You don't want to damage the screen cutting the adhesive. All right, so I think we got all the adhesive. Let's go ahead and continue doing the same thing, pulling it up towards the center as we pull the inner part of the frame out. Okay, so there we go. All right, and here's the bezel. You can see the adhesive. They only put some here and here. They didn't put it across the entire screen, which is nice. Okay, I'm gonna actually roll this old adhesive off and remove it because it's not necessary and actually just makes it harder to work on. All right, so we'll get this old adhesive off. Okay, and we'll get the adhesive off from this side. Basically just rolling it with my thumb like this. Okay, and there we go. So we got all that adhesive off. Now we're gonna go ahead and take a look at the screen. And if they're lucky, it is just a loose cable connection here. We wanna make sure these screws are nice and tight. As you can see, these are loose. And that's not good because that can cause the screen bezel or the screw mounts to break. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take these screws out. I'm gonna put a small amount of red thread locker on it. You don't want too much, because if you put too much, when you screw it in, you don't want it to overflow into the plastic and end up damaging those. So, all right, so we'll get that screw in. Oh, I think it's already actually, the plastic might already be broken. So here you can see, if I kind of wiggle this, it's actually pulling up the screw mount, so that's not good. I'm gonna have to use some JB Weld to fix that. So here you can see the plastic screw mount here. It's actually broken. So I'm gonna actually fill this with JB Weld most likely, unless I can get this to sit nice and flat. Yeah, I guess I can get it to fit nice and flat. So what I'm gonna do there to fix that is I'm gonna put some JB Weld at the bottom, and hopefully that will hold the broken plastic screw mount into place. All right. Anyways, we're gonna use some more red thread locker. Oops, I put too much and it flowed over the side, so I need to clean that off. Again, you don't want the thread locker stuff going onto the plastic area because it can make it brittle. Okay. All right, sorry about that, I'm fumbling with the screw. And let's go ahead and get this back in. Okay, that screw's fine. Let's go ahead and get this one. And same thing, we're going to put a little of the red thread locker there. And tighten that in. Okay. I'll do this for all of them because these screws actually are coming out pretty easily. Okay. And we're basically just making it so these screws don't come loose on their own. Right, good thing it looks like only one of the screws are bad, or one of the screw mounts so far. Hopefully the rest are good. Okay. All right. And so far I only use JB Weld because I've tried a few other glues and they don't hold too well. So if you're wondering if you can use other types of glue, you're free to experiment if you want, but again, I've tested several types of glues and JB Weld so far was the best. All right, so we got all of those. Let's go ahead now and remove the screen. So there's 4 screws holding the screen in place. You want to be careful putting pressure on the back of the screen because it is levitating. It's not completely pushed down onto the table. If you want, you can put something underneath the screen to help keep the pressure, all right, from basically breaking this area. All right, so we're getting all 4 screws out. Okay, and again, hopefully you press and held the power button 15 seconds before you're going to be attempting this. All right, make sure that the battery is disconnected, very important. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look here. Hopefully we're lucky and this is loose. It does look like this screen part is pulled out slightly, so we might be in luck. We're going to try and peel this up. My watch thinks I'm going for a walk. All right, so you want to be very careful peeling this stuff up. Okay. Just like this. All right. Oh, I should probably zoom in a bit here for you guys. All right. If you need a replacement screen, the screen model number is here. I know it's upside down, but LP156WF6 and then SPK1. All right. So there we go. Let's go ahead now and pull this connector. It was pretty loose. Let's go ahead now and pull it back in. I'm going to use, oops, sorry, we're going out of view. All right. So basically I use this to pull the connector out like this. All right, now we're going to line it back up. I use my fingers here to help adjust the angle of the connector. and we're gonna now guide it back in. All right, and then once you get it, use the bottom part of the thing to help pull the connector into place. Right, just like this. I'm using my fingertips to pull the bottom, and it looks connected, so hopefully that's good. We're gonna now stick this back on. Hopefully it's in all the way. This is the LCD LVDS connector. If you need the model number, hopefully you can read that. It's a lot of characters. You can just pause. I know it's upside down, but it's hard to hold it the other way while working on this. So we're gonna now flip this back up the screen. Sorry. All right, just flip the screen back up into place. You can lay this back over this way. I'm gonna actually go get the JB welds so that I can fix that one screw here. Okay, since only one screw is messed up, it shouldn't be too bad. It'll hold itself in place while the epoxy is setting. All right, anyways, let's go ahead and get these screws in. The only thing is this is one of the more important screws because it's closest to the hinge. So that's taking more of the direct force. If that screw breaks, then all the torque over here is going to be too much and those will break very easily. So, all right, got to get this cable back over this little notch there and into that groove. All right, let's go ahead. Oh, sorry, I'm way zoomed out. Anyways, we just put the screws back in to hold the screen in place, and I'm pretty sure the screen is going to work now. But anyways, let me get some JB Weld. We're going to put this back first, put the bezel back on, and then we're going to go ahead and look at the other components before I put it back together. All right, I'll be back with some JB Weld. All right, I'm back with some JB Weld, so let's go ahead and mix it up. We only need a little. All right. Oh, probably even that's already more than enough. So we're going to just use that. All right, now we're going to get some more, and we're going to go ahead and do the other one. Okay. Again, we only need a tiny bit. Okay. Should be more than enough. All right. Clean this up. Okay, let's stir the two parts together. Just like that. Alright, you want to make sure it's all stirred together. You don't want any separate of the white or black, otherwise it's not going to harden properly. Okay, just like this. Alright, good. So let's go ahead and pull this back up. It's kind of holding in there, but okay, let me use the screwdriver to get it out. Alright, so what we're going to do now, we're going to fill up some JB Weld in there. Just like this. Get that all in there. Good. And then we're going to fill some JB Weld up in here. Alright, and hopefully this will hold strong enough that it won't come back out. Put some more back in there. Alright, we'll use the rest here. Okay, so now we're going to just put this back in. And hopefully it will sit. Hopefully we can find where it broke and it will sit completely flush. Good. Just like that. Okay. All right. So we should be good with that. Let's clean up the JB Weld stuff so it doesn't just harden here. Okay. That off, clean this off. All right. Good. So make sure this is all seated properly. Okay. Very important. Okay, this actually holds really well. And these screws are all good. Let's go ahead now and put the bezel back in. Okay, basically just get it all lined up. If you want, you can start from the top here. Push the outer edge now, and then it should roll in to click into place. So push the outer edge, and then you push in the center, just like this. Okay. All right. Basically the opposite of how we pulled it out. Okay. Side edge in, and then into the middle. There we go, just like that. All right, let's go ahead and lift this up, and let's get the other edge in. Okay. Again, we took the adhesive out, so it's not going to hold like that anymore. You want one hand behind, holding from the back here, okay, and then pushing at the bottom to click it into place, just like that. All right, and there we go. We got the entire screen and bezel everything into place. Let's go ahead and close the screen. So we're gonna rotate this, close it up. All right, so I'm pretty sure people want to see how to remove the hard drive and the SSD. Just like every other model, the only difference with this is there's this cable here on top. You flip this latch up, okay, sorry. Flip the latch up, all right, just like that. You can see now it's up, and then you can go ahead and pull this cable out. Then there's two screws here. I don't want to break the warranty seal sticker, but there's two screws here. Once you remove that, you can slide the whole hard drive back. All right, you can see it catches on this metal latch here, but it can slide back, and then you can lift it out. You want to transfer this metal bracket that's on the outside of the hard drive over to the new hard drive or SSD. Okay, any 2.5-inch SATA drive will work, but again, I highly recommend SSDs. They make a huge difference, and for the cost right now, they're not too bad. All right. Okay, so there we go. Get this cable back in, flip that latch back down. All right, you got the DC jack charge port connector here, which goes all the way up and connects all the way out here. All right, sorry, let me zoom out so you guys can see better. All right, and this piece is held down with this metal bracket, so you will have to remove the screws holding this. I'm not going to take it out, but I think it's just these two screws. I don't think you have to remove the one in that top one in the corner. I think that's just for the lock mechanism, but if it doesn't come out, then you can remove all three. All right, you got the speaker connector here for this speaker connector here for this speaker. You got the LCD LVDS connector here that goes into the screen. All right, we're not going to mess with that. CPU, GPU are soldered to the motherboard. Underneath here, if you take this out, you have to redo the thermal paste. So don't take this out unless you have thermal paste ready to go. All right, we're going to clean this up. It's a bit dusty. You got one large fan connector here. I believe that connects both fans. Okay, then you got the wireless card here. There's one screw holding it, and then if you take that out, it pops up at an angle. There's the the keyboard backlight connector. This one has a sliding mechanism. This plastic piece slides back, then you can pull this out, and then if you put it back, make sure it's slid out first so it's loose to get the cable in, and then push it back in to lock it. Keyboard connector has the flip latch. Trackpad connector also has the flip latch. And then, if I didn't already show or mention, this is the M.2 PCIe NVMe. There's just one screw. Just like every other model laptop, once you remove the screw, you can lift this up slightly at an angle. You can wiggle it and pull it out. All right. And you can upgrade this to another M.2 PCIe NVMe SSD so that it has more storage. The M.2 PCIe NVMe SSDs are much faster, so keep that in mind. It's better to use that as the boot drive than to use the SATA, even if you put an SSD in there. All right, then you got the RAM here. So the way I remove this is I get underneath the metal cover here with my fingernail. You can use plastic pry tools, then you just lift it up. Here you go, pops out like that. You can pull the RAM out by pulling the two tabs to the side like this. I believe the customer opened this already, but here you can see it's an 8 gig PC4 2133p. You should be able to use any PC for 2133p RAM. So if you want, you can put two 16 gig sticks. If they have 32 gig sticks, you can put that as well. All right, and the other stick basically does the same thing, just comes out like that. All right, so we're gonna just put that back in. I don't know if it supports other speeds of RAM. Most of the time, the RAM slots do support multiple different speeds, but I don't know. So if you wanted to try, you want to make sure to get you want to make sure that you have a good return policy in case it doesn't work. All right, anyways, I'm going to clean the fans out, and then we're going to put this thing back together. Hopefully it's going to work. And yeah, I'll see you guys in a bit. All right, I'm back. So as you can see, the fans are much cleaner now. All right, I also cleaned inside of here. Let's go ahead now and zoom out and put this thing back together. And hopefully after that, we will have a nice working screen. Okay, so what we're going to do now, take the battery first, of course. All right, and same thing, we're gonna start it over to the right here. Make sure to get this little thing notch in, right? Then we'll get that. Actually, we should plug the battery in first so that we don't have to worry about how much slack there is, okay? Get the battery connector lined up. You wanna make sure it's lined up before you push it in. Then you wanna go on both sides and just pinch the connector into place. There we go. Get the battery slid over slightly to the right, okay? Just like that, and then slide it back over to the left. Now we'll just get these 3 screws in. Okay. Alright, there we go. Alright, now let's go ahead and get the bottom cover back on. So maybe for a thumbnail I can have this. Alright, let's go ahead and get this back on. Snap it all back together. Okay, you can lift it up, make sure everything is clipped in properly around the back, around the sides, around the front. Okay, and then we just got to get all the screws back in, and that's all there is to it. Of course, I am going to power it on to make sure the screen is working. Usually after reconnecting the screen, you do want to do a restart on the computer, because sometimes it doesn't detect the screen properly, and Windows 10, 11, whatever, it doesn't do a complete system settings or system file restart. It keeps those like suspended or hibernated. So you want to do a restart. Don't just shut down and start it back up. Okay, so let's go ahead now and get all these screws back in. But other than that, that's all there is to it. Hopefully this video helped you guys out. If it did, make sure to like, subscribe, share my channel with others so that they can learn how to upgrade and repair their devices as well. If it helped you save a bunch of money, please consider contributing a little to the channel. Every little bit helps and allows me to continue making these videos for a living. But yeah, other than that, you can stick around till I get all the screws in and power it back up. If your screen was cracked or is having issues with backlight or something, most of the time you're probably going to need to replace the screen. And then if sometimes on the backlight ones, it ends up being a motherboard issue. So keep that in mind. And then there's very rare chance, but every so often the LCD LVDS cable will come loose as well, or be damaged as well from all the bending back and forth. But that's a pretty rare occurrence. So unless something happened like the hinge broke to cause that, it's pretty rare. All right, because we're missing one screw, I'm going to put the one in this corner here. Because having 2 middle screws isn't as important as having the outer screws. There was this USB in there, so I'm going to put that back in. All right, now let's go ahead and flip this over and see if we are lucky. I think it did look a little bit loose, so I think we should be okay. So let's see. All right, I see a little bit of light coming on the screen. Come on. There we go. So you can see the Lenovo screen came up, and we should be good to go. Again, I do recommend you restart the computer one time just to be safe. The screen is just still black right now. We'll see if it's still booting up. If it's not booting up, if you just saw the Lenovo screen and the screen doesn't come back on, what you want to do, connect an external monitor so that you can see the screen, and then do a restart. So right now I can see the screen is not showing up. Most likely it's booted up. I'm going to plug in an external monitor and then do a restart. and it should come up with the video on screen. So let me do that real quick and I'll be back. All right, so I did a restart and we're good to go. One thing to note, when I did plug in the external monitor, when this screen wasn't turning on completely, after I plugged in the external monitor, this screen came on, but then the external was having like all these lines going blah, 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 all over the screen. But once I restarted the computer just by pushing the up arrow or whatever and then going here and doing a restart, it fixed it, and now both the external and internal monitor work. So that's pretty much it. Hopefully this video helped you out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. All right, let's drop this. Bye.